Hi everybody and welcome back. My name's Melissa and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living, and right now I am doing like a super meager grocery budget so I can donate excess to the food pantry. At time of filming, supposedly the courts have said that the money does have to be released to SNAP. So that may already have happened by the time this video hits. And if it does, that's great. But I still do intend on donating to the food pantry because there's a lot of people who fall in that middle gap where they might not qualify for SNAP because maybe they make more than $14,000 a year, which we all know is just so easy to live on nowadays. That's sarcasm for anybody who missed it. So for a lot of people, there's still that challenge. So I'm going to be, and I mean, I have had that challenge before in my own life where I've had to do this. So this is 100% not my recipe. Sundays are soup day. It's kind of like a tradition that I had as a teenager, and I really felt like it's fall. I wanted Sunday soup, and I wanted chicken rice soup. So I am making it from scratch. As you know, I made the chicken broth, which I will use 4 cups of it today. I also have the shredded chicken that I have left over from when I made the chicken broth. So that's set. It called for 2 ribs of celery, but if you know, I hate celery, so instead I diced up a carrot, which was actually free. 1 small onion diced, so I guess about a cup of onion. It does call for fresh ground pepper and kosher salt. I mean, I don't even know if I'm going to use a penny of that, so I did not calculate that in the price. 2 large eggs. 1.5 cups of cooked rice, which I already have. 1/4 cup of lemon juice, that was 1 lemon. And then a tablespoon of olive oil. I am guessing you could probably substitute whatever oil you have, but I do keep olive oil so that I can use it occasionally for recipes. So I will be using olive oil today. Just to give you a quick rundown, sorry, I did the math. So the 4 cups, let's just start at that. The olive oil, that's about 21 cents based on market price. I don't remember how much I paid. I did get it on sale, so I just based it on like a generic olive oil. The onion is about 20 cents worth of onion. The carrot was free. I got it from my mom, but if I hadn't gotten it from my mom, I would have just grabbed one from the garden. The 4 cups of chicken broth were 28 cents. That was based on the chicken broth was 85 cents to cook because I didn't count the chicken as part of it because I counted the chicken price in the actual, I divided up the chicken price in the cost of the actual chicken instead. And I didn't want to double count it. The kosher salt and ground pepper I didn't figure out. The 2 eggs were 17 cents. The 1/4 cup of fresh lemon juice came from 1 lemon, so that was 69 cents. 1.5 cups of cooked rice was 26 cents, and 2 cups of shredded chicken were $1.68. So the total price for this pot of soup will be $3.49. It's 4 servings that are approximately 309 calories. Obviously, when you're cooking everything yourself, there is a slight possible discrepancy in weight or content. Obviously, meat is normally done by the weight. She also could have figured this based on white meat chicken. I'm using dark meat, so any number of little differences could occur. But this with some bread is actually a pretty hearty meal, and I will admit, I got sick earlier in the week, so I did not make bread. I bought a loaf of Italian bread for $1.20, so it did significantly increase the cost of the meal. But I'm going to go ahead and turn the camera down to the stove so you can see the process. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do is obviously turn on the stove. And then it says 1 tablespoon of olive oil on a medium to high heat. Pretty sure I have close enough, maybe not. Okay, it's a little low. It'll have to just do. And then it says to saute the onion. And the celery, I'm using carrot, so. And then I'm going to do this for about 5 minutes. Also, having grown up going to Greek restaurants and also working in a lot of Greek restaurants. I was a server in many Greek owned restaurants. Sunday was always chicken rice soup day, and I can tell you that though I'm not Greek and didn't cook it, I saw a lot more little pieces of carrot in the soup, and I probably should have diced them up a little smaller. That's kind of big, but I struggle with my hands. Today was a rough day, and they're a little bit big. But I've definitely seen carrot more often than celery, so I don't feel bad subbing in the... So there's been a lot of discourse online. Might as well talk through this, and maybe I'll over it, maybe I won't. There's been a lot of discourse online, and a lot of people have said that as far as SNAP goes, and I kind of don't like how people talk about it, because I think people who don't really understand it just assume. They're like, well, what about this person? What about that person? And yeah, there are some people who have greater struggles. There are some people on SNAP that are homeless, but the majority of people on SNAP are housed in some way. Whether it be, and that's the other thing, a lot of people don't understand homelessness. Homelessness can mean a lot of things. So if you have to double up with family, you are, for legal purposes, considered homeless. So if you have to move in with your brother or your sister or your mom and dad, or they have to move in with you, then there's a homeless situation. For the purposes of schooling and everything else, there's extra paperwork. It can be a pain sometimes. But I actually had to deal with that when I technically, I guess, would have fallen under the homeless criteria. In 2020, beginning of 2020, end of 2019, on Christmas Day, I drove down to Florida to work my old job and stayed with my parents. They had to fill out all this paperwork because my license didn't match, so that my kid could re-enroll in his old school. It was kind of weird, but it worked. So now we've kind of covered the homeless thing, but a lot of people are like, oh, well, maybe people can't cook, they don't have the skills. But you do have YouTube. You are watching me do it. This is not, this is, I think, the first time I've ever made chicken rice soup. I can get it for like $12 a quart at the local restaurant, but before it used to be super cheap. We'd go and we would get it for like $3 for a bowl of soup and a bread basket, and $1 or $2 for coffee, soda, tea, whatever. And then like $5 each for the waitress, because we recognized that we took up one of her tables. Just so you know, back in the day, waitresses had 9. Okay, so this is what it looks like after 5 minutes. And I feel like the carrot is still really hard. I don't want the onion caramelized. I do want it softened, but I am going to, I set the timer for another 5 minutes, and then at that point I'm going to pour the broth no matter what. But I do kind of just want to watch it and see what happens. I think maybe another 2 or 3 minutes. I don't think it's going to go another full 5. But, okay, so back to the food stamp thing. Most people on food stamps have access to the internet. Many actually qualify for a free phone. So with data and stuff. So they do have access to the internet. The purpose of the free phone is so that they can apply for jobs and better themselves in their situation. They can have it for medical needs, whether it be an emergency like calling 911 or arranging doctor's appointments and such. They have it for, the kids' school and stuff. So then if your kid's sick, the school can call you and say, hey, your kid's sick, come pick them up. So there's a lot of reasons why somebody might need a phone and might receive free or reduced price on a phone service. So there's that. Then you have the, what was I going to say? A lot of people who are on SNAP benefits have some sort of a home. They may have disability, but a lot of people with disabilities can still do a lot of things. My mom has MS, and even now at her end stage, she would take a lot longer to cut the vegetables than I do, which is ironic because she normally used to cut a lot more quickly than I do. You know, I've always been the one who's been clumsy and struggled with stuff like that, and that everybody's kind of laughed at. But she could still cut. I mean, this is a small onion and 1 carrot, so she could easily do this. I mean, heck, she cooks her dog's own homemade dog food every month, like a couple of times a week. But even with MS in her wheelchair, she could still cut these vegetables, roll up to the stove and do this. And that's a pretty, MS is a pretty rough physical disability. If you know anybody who's suffered from it, it's also, it hits your brain. So then like the brain fog is unreal. The things that you can forget and struggle with. And so I kind of feel like, and granted, there will be people still who fall into a disability category where they can't do this. But I just want to like make you aware that there's a lot of things that disabled people can do. And you all like to sit there and be like, oh, these poor people. And it's really kind of demeaning to those of us who are disabled, because there's a lot of stuff we can do for ourselves. And a lot of us do want to better ourselves and do as much as we can. We want to be as independent as we can, especially those of us who we're always independent and are no longer as independent. Like it's not fun, and people definitely try and so the onion's definitely soft, the carrots are not, but I'll keep going for another minute and 20 seconds or so. There's a lot of things disabled people can do. Most people have some sort of a pot or a cooking thing. If they don't, Goodwill and St. Vincent de Paul and other secondhand stores you can frequently get it. Buy Nothing groups, you can frequently find pot. I mean, honestly, I would guess that if you put on there, on a Buy Nothing group, needed pot to cook soup, and especially said, hey, struggling with food insecurity, not only would you probably get the pot, you'd probably get like ingredients. So now I'm going to pour in the 4 cups of chicken broth. Conveniently, this is a 4-cup container. So, you know what, actually, I am going to keep that up there so I have a place to put my spatula. Fresh cracked pepper. Just so you know, I did do the onions and things for about 8.5 minutes. Kosher salt, if you don't have, I'm using it because I do have kosher salt. If you don't, use iodized salt. Use whatever salt you have. It's not that big of a deal. I want salty soup today because electrolytes. And then you're going to want to let that come to a simmer. And next up. Now I also recognize the blender is definitely a specialty item that a lot of people won't have. And honestly, I have no idea how I would do this if I didn't have a blender. I am guessing if I had to do it by hand, I would probably substitute this 1/4 cup of rice for flour, rice flour, whatever I happen to have. But it says put a 1/4 cup of rice in the blender. So doing that. And then 2 eggs. But yeah, a lot of people who need SNAP benefits are working poor. They're even some of the disabled people on it still are able to work part-time even though they get Social Security. It might only be like 10, 15 hours a week, but it's still something. Yay, more dishes. Sorry. Okay, so it says that add the eggs, the lemon juice, and a quarter cup of the rice and blend until smooth, about 20 seconds. So, really not gonna lie, I'm nervous about that because I don't want the lemon juice to curdle the eggs, but we'll see. Now I'm going to, I don't know if you can see the blender, I'm going to kind of move it here, not just because of so I kind of do want to see what this looks like. Okay, so there's the lid. It kind of gives you an idea of the consistency. But yeah, the rice is all kind of chopped up there, and okay. So, as I was saying, a lot of people receiving SNAP, I mean, people think that people judge poor people very harshly. And a lot of people like to assume that they're stupid or lazy or incompetent, when in reality, they're some of the most capable people. And it's actually the factor that we can't get off the hamster wheel that makes it so difficult. You know, because all it takes is one life situation, whether it be that you're discriminated against because of gender, race, disability, religion, so you aren't allowed a hand up, whether you have a disability, so perhaps things like learning, processing, understanding can take longer. It doesn't even necessarily mean you're not smart. It just means that it takes you a minute to process or figure it out, or you have to do something a little bit differently. And having to adapt like that, that's a skill. That's a skill that's kind of unique to people who are disabled, because that's what we have to learn. I used to, as a special education teacher, I used to help people adapt all the time. Specifically students. And yeah, so but no, I mean, like, give them some credit. Honestly, I feel like, and I know I have people who have struggled through hard times who follow me, who've done this for longer than me, who've done it since I was born, kind of a thing. And you know, some of you all know how to cook and stretch and everything, and you know, we're on there telling people this can be done, and here's some hints and here's some tips, because you know, it's the whole new poor thing or whatever, I guess. But yeah, so this can be done. It's I'm just checking and seeing how much battery I have. You know what? I'm going to pause. I'm going to keep boiling this. I'm going to charge the battery because it's dying. Okay, we're still on red, and though I have some degree of, I don't know, time with the soup, I still want to. It says a couple ladles of the broth, but it doesn't specify how big the ladle should be. So now the purpose of this is because I'm going to be tempering the eggs, which means you add hot liquid, typically broth, to your egg mixture. And that way it doesn't, you want the eggs to like thicken the soup. You don't want them to, and make it creamy. You don't want them to be scrambled. You don't want a brothy soup and scrambled eggs. So I've never tempered in a blender. It's a new experience for me. But I feel like a cup is like a decent amount, right? It's like 2 ladles worth, I would guess. While I'm tempering, I'm going to put the chicken in. And that way the chicken will warm up. I didn't shred this further because the natural process that is cooking soup, the chicken will kind of start to break up on its own. So okay. So I'm supposed to put it on. Okay, so you're not going to be able to hear me over this. So I've got the tempered broth. I have the little thing to pour it in, and I'm going to turn it on blend. So in theory, this should be tempered. I guess it is. I don't know. Let's see. Hopefully I did not screw the whole thing up. I'm going to take this blade out because I don't want to mess it up. And then I'm going to slowly stir in the tempered egg to the hot soup mixture. And then in theory, if you don't spill it all over the stove, it's supposed to, and I've done this with like a broken noodle soup before, so okay, it looks like it's starting to thicken. We have a lot of chicken in here, so it's almost more stewish than, oh, you know what I forgot to add? The rice. I may have to add extra broth, we'll see. And in theory, I'm thinking that the rice that's blended in is going to act like a starch as well to thicken. Oh, it's starting to get creamier, so I think I did it right. Okay, I may have actually blended them a little bit too much because this is starting to look like it's at the wrong stage. Oh, that's rice. Okay. So they say you don't want it to boil because the eggs will curdle. So I am going to keep on stirring it. I don't think it's bad for my first time, but definitely needs some work. As you can see, I kind of spilled there. I'm going to warn you, probably don't want to run a cloth with alcohol on it next to a burner, but I do. At some point that's going to die, and I am going to have to switch to film, which won't film as well, but it is what it is. So if you look, yeah, it's getting thick. I'm really pleased with how this is shaping up. And that's a big okay. The flavor's there, but it's not as thick as I'd like. I think that next time I may add, like, I don't know, a little flour, kind of a roux, maybe. You know, maybe I didn't temper the eggs right because it was in a blender, and I'm not used to that, but I'm going to leave it simmer for a few minutes, and then I will plate it and show you. Okay, so I think I put too much chicken in. It said 2 cups, which this is 2 cups, but maybe it's just, I don't know. But just to show you, I mean, it's like supposed to ladle, but it almost can scoop. It's almost like a stew, which is fine. I mean, my prices are still right on based on how much I used, but I'm just using like a stew plate, which is kind of like a flat rounded bowl. But, you know, I'm kind of sad that it's not more soupy, but it is what it is. It's still edible. It's still dinner. So this, and then I'll put a hunk of warm bread with it. So this is about 300 calories, 309 calories, about 150 calories. Lots of protein in it, and a great way to stretch protein. That's what it is. Okay, so this is dinner tonight. It's about 450 calories. The soup was 87 cents. The bread, because I didn't make it myself, this is about 20 cents worth of bread. It's $1.20 a loaf, and there's 5 servings. So it has a lot of nutrients in it, a lot of protein from the chicken. The onion and the lemon juice provide a lot of vitamin C. So, you know, it helps avoid scurvy. The whole pot was $3.50. Add the loaf of bread for $1.20. I cooked it for less than $5. I cooked a meal for 4. So this is about $1.07 worth of food. This will fill me up. It's got obviously like a quarter of a carrot. Obviously you could easily incorporate more seasonal vegetables. And right now things like squash are really affordable. I'm just not a huge veggie person. So even though I could have added, even though I could add things like a side of broccoli or something, it's not going to get eaten. So I'm not going to do it because that's a waste of food. So really consider making things like soups and stews and think about how you can stretch it. And this is just another way I'm using that less than $7. What was it? It was $6.73 worth of chicken thighs, how I made the broth and the chicken and everything. And because I wasn't feeling well earlier in the week, I'm actually going to freeze some of it and have it for future use. Anyways, again, my name's Melissa, and this year I'm sharing 365 tips for frugal living. If you want to hear more, please hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you all tomorrow.